There's the left front. Those are an AC Delco brand. I think they're AC Delco. It's a big brake kit for a Z06 vet. 6 piston. Each piston has its own pad, so 6 different pads on the front. And then I believe the back is 4. That's a 14-inch rotor. A nice beefy rotor. Got everything torqued down. Got that security seal stuff on there, so I can see if it comes loose or not. And you know, as I go back through things, I don't have to wonder if it's been tightened or not. And so that's pretty basic. All of that really didn't have to do much. Right here I got getting ready to put the sway bar kit on there from Quick Racing Products, and it's pretty self-explanatory where it needs to go, but I got these beams mapped out on there, and I got to miss this bar and this bar as it goes through, so it really can only go in one spot. If you figure it's got to bolt on the middle of those beams and still make it through that slot. So I've got that mapped out where I want it, and I've already did the other side. Got it sitting there, and that thing is going to look sweet. And I trust these guys whether or not it's set up proper. They've done some research on tuning the suspension on these cars, and so it's all good. And then I also ordered a shock kit, different coilovers. I didn't go, you know, like a real exotic race component. But they figured out that a different spring and shock combination actually suits this car better, and I'm going to once again take their word for it and get them. Besides that, on the fronts there's been an issue, which they sent a fix to me, but originally the Coney, so anyway, the Coney shocks, Factory 5 designed this for the shocks to be inverted so it won't hit up against the control arm and that. And that particular model for the Coney, I mean, it's a good shock, but it says right on it, don't run inverted. And then so they sent a fix, and which works. I've seen guys hook it up and it's going to work fine. But the guys from Quick Racing Products, they found a coilover that has you know, a better spring rate, better compression rate, which can be ran inverted. So I'm going to choose for the better performing package and then be able to hook it up the way Factory 5 designed that. And so I pretty much got the front done. The swing arm is awesome. It's a good spot for it. You know, the forces are fighting against each other. In other words, you know, that sway bar needs to be hooked up in one of the strongest parts of the car. It needs to be able to withstand the weight of the car, even greater than that. So, you know, it's sitting in a good spot. There's going to be no flex. It's wanting to fight against, you know, the control arm itself. So there's going to be no give there. All performance. Nice polished piece. Everything is perfect. Hind joints line up really good. There's going to be no binding at all. Nice shiny. Looks really good. Got the back going. Takes a little time to get all that done. I have to stop and paint everything, clean it up, shine it up, test fit it, bolt it together. And here's the other side. Got the rotor on it, and I'm going to shave off these letters. So yeah, I'm pretty much getting everything tightened down that I know I'm not going to move again. Some of the stuff I just have hanging here, because I'll be messing with those brakes still to come. And I'll finish up the suspension, then it's time to start. I'm kind of going by the manual at the moment, and then after this, next thing is getting the footbox sheet metal dialed in, so we'll continue on with that. Setting up some of the sheet metal, and I suppose the thought behind it is to put on as less as possible. And but the book wants me to get the footbox set up, because the next thing that goes in is the brakes, the pedal box, and got all the sheet metal back on the front. And I decided, because every time you put a piece down, there's always one that overlaps it, so figured I'd put them all in here. I'm waiting for the AC unit, the vintage air package, and so I figured I might as well go ahead and put this all back together again, get all the holes drilled where I want them, and that way I'll be able to pay attention easier as I'm putting each piece in, you know, of which side I need to leave undone, because the next piece is going to go on top of it. And some parts you want to put no seam sealer, and because of the next part that's going to go on top of it. So anyway, this helped me map it out in my head as I go further. And I wish I would have drilled all those holes in there before I took that apart to put the coating on them. Because even if I had to clean the hole out a little bit, I would have rather have made that mess earlier than right now. That's one reason I'm putting it all together right now too, so I won't have many holes to drill later on. I'm going to put the steering column in. Got a tilt telescoping wheel. Got the telescoping kit from Factory 5. Got some hardware, bearing, couple brackets, another knuckle joint. And I was reading on the forum, for some reason you have to disable the steering lock, not only in the computer, but shave off the pin on the column itself, and my internet's down right now so I can't check that out. So I'll loosely get everything in there, get it all mocked up, and probably plan on having to maybe take the column back out to service that pin and do whatever I need to do with that. So that's what's next. Got this tore apart. Had to make a little puller, get those pins out of a nut and a bolt, and got to slice this down here as per instructions, and then this all comes off. And then you got to shorten up this tube here, both ends, drill a new hole in here. Get this spline apart where that slides in and out for the telescoping part. Saw that off, put it back on, pin that back down, and then put it back together. Loosely have it in here. Quite a few modifications to that steering column. Had no idea I was going to end up having to do all that, but just followed the directions in the manual. Looks like it's going to work out pretty well. I'm going to have to find a spot to mount this carrier. So that'll go under here. That mounts off of there somehow. We'll get that. So I'm going to snug everything up, and looks like it ought to work pretty good. Got the shear pin in here. This shaft had to be cut. So yeah, came out good. Next I'll be putting the motor for the telescoping part that pushes in and out. Alright, so we got problems here. This plate that they make to go underneath, just from messing around, it's already got that destroyed. So that's not going to work, and I'll have to, I've been experimenting. I put these tabs back in here that the factory came with the wheel, and I don't know, that might be fine, but I got to get some different spacers for that because they're not big enough. Need something a little bit wider to spread the load out a bit, because this thing rocks. Yeah, so that rocks in there. So I'm going to make a bracket and tie the other end of this up to the frame so that's in there solid. Get this attached here a little better. It needs to be dropped down more than what I had it, because once I went to put this motor on here, the actuator with the mounts wasn't going to line up with this ball, so it needed to be dropped down quite a bit more and change the angle of this a little bit so it lines up better, and as well support the back end of this. So 2 or 3 things I need to change to make that all flow real good. Did some work on this part. I welded in that piece, so now I'll be able to bolt right up against that, and got some better spacers here to go in between, and I made a bracket to go back here, which I put some nut certs in there, and that'll pinch right in here and hold the back side of that, so it'll be nice and solid. I got the pedal box sitting in there, ready to go. Column is in. There's a little bracket I made to hold the tail of that. Got it spaced appropriately. Thing is rock solid now. And I got the actuator in here, and that's one of the reasons I had to space this out more, so that would line up proper. Got that bracket painted up, and then the motor mounted here. Got that painted up. And got the pedal assembly in here with the master cylinders mounted. And gotta get a brake light switch, and there's one more bracket that goes in here, and I'll mount this somewhere, keep that from moving. And then should be pretty good.